When we talk about what a trailblazer is, it's usually associated with the words pathfinder, pioneer, or vanguard. So how about we add change agent to that? Welcome to Trailblazers Radio, a unique podcast platform that speaks about a myriad of subjects. We are not afraid of opening closed doors, and we always tell it like it is, period. We are accessible on various social media platforms such as YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. We're also accessible on various streaming audio platforms such as Spotify, Google Podcasts, and so much more. It is our mission to ensure that you are educated, entertained, and edified. And we thank you for tuning in to us.
Hello?
Hey, babe.
Hey, everything all right?
I just been thinking about how much I've grown. Through friendships, relationships. They don't bother me anymore.
That's because God is growing you.
Letting go of my past hurts, removing roots since I'm older. No, I'm not perfect, but growing up's worth it if I give it to God and I won't get hurt. I'm shutting my past down, I'm putting Him first. I'm pushing past my mess ups, I'm in too deep cause I leveled up. He got my mind right, no pain in my sight. Let the river flow, no shade to my past, but please know that I gotta grow. I put a seed in the ground, now He gon' water it down. Oh yeah. Grow. If you look at me now, I would never try out. I'm getting more older now, I'm seeing much clearer now. Life has its lessons, so many blessings. No more going back, gotta get on the right track. I leveled up on my haters, say keep switching up like the weather. All I gotta do is keep on making boss moves and I stay rooted like a tree planted by the rivers of water. I'ma keep on sowing, I'ma keep on growing. I see the blessings coming my way, my seed in the ground, let it shine all day. Seed in the ground, I put a seed down, and He gon' water it down. Grow, yeah. If you look at me now, I would never try out. Grow. I put a seed in the ground, He gon' water it down. He gives the increase. Grow. If you look at me now. I put my seed in the ground, I put my seed in the ground, yeah. Whoa, yeah.
Yo, good evening, and good evening one more time. Welcome to the check-in. This is the show that we talk about all things mental health from a guy's point of view. This is the show where we have those conversations. We have those conversations about not just mental health things, but we also have conversations about life and about all the things that entail that life, whether it be mental health, whether it be spiritual health, whether it be physical health, or whether it be anything that we want to discuss here on this particular show. My name is Frederick Beatty. I am your host for this evening. Thank you so very much for joining me tonight. You could have been anywhere else on this Wednesday night, but you're right here with me, rocking out with me, and I most definitely appreciate that. The songs that you heard prior to me coming on the stage was the name of the one track that is called Loner. No, it wasn't called Loner. It's called Life in Full Throttle. That's a track made by me. And then the song that you heard prior to me coming on is called Growth by Mookstar Dash. That song is out right now. It's been out for quite some time. Mookstar Dash is a very, very talented artist, and she's graced our platform on more than one occasion. So I just want to thank you guys for being here tonight. I want to thank you guys for just taking the time to be with me on this Wednesday night and having a conversation with me. I appreciate that. Um, so before we even get started, let me just preface um this particular show with this particular statement. What you're gonna hear and see is my thoughts and my thoughts from my experiences with domestic violence on both ends of the spectrum. As you guys have heard or seen, I've spoken about my story from the point of view of an abuser, but also from the point of view of the abused. So I've experienced both sides. I've experienced both spectrums of that, and I talked about it in depth a couple of weeks ago. Talked about my experience on both ends of on the platform of that particular spectrum. But what wasn't well, and I briefly touched on my my healing, my journey from that. Touched on it briefly, but I didn't touch on it completely. As you can see, this is domestic violence, my story, part two, healing and lessons. There are lessons to be learned from every experience that we had from every experience that we go through or that we experience, every part of this life that we experience. There are lessons to be learned. Now whether or not we allow those lessons to be of great help to us depends upon us. Whether those lessons are going to be a help or a hindrance to us is on us. But I also believe that there's healing in in the lessons that we're taught, that we're given and that we're taught. Um, and I think that we should never discount the healing and the lessons that we're given, that we're taught. Let me tell you guys a little bit about the lessons that I was taught when I was going after I went through I went through both of these issues, both of these, I won't call them issues, but I will call them experiences. And let me tell you guys about the lessons that I learned, but also the healing that I had to go through, that I had to endure, but also tell you guys a little bit about the pitfalls that I went through when I went through this healing journey. Hey Simone, good evening. How are you? Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you. So as you guys recall, I told you guys a lot. These events happened over the span of a year. So 1997 to around 1998 or 1996 to 1997. Again, I forget the year. I forget the year, or I forget the year or the time frame. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I promise I'm gonna be on here more. I'm gonna be on here a lot more often. Simone. There's been some things going on that I had to take care of. And plus my work schedule is less crazy now. So you guys are gonna see me more. We'll see more of me up on here for more on here. So as I was saying, after the abusive incident that I experienced, and I left Washington State to come back to California, back to um, the friends that I had there. It was a it was a difficult transition for me at the time. It was a very difficult transition for me um, at that time. Fresh out of a situation that I really didn't understand. Also trying to wrap my head around, trying to put both situations in some form of perspective, to which I did, which I was not able to, not at the time anyway, not at that time anyway. Um, there was a lot of anger, that came from that. Um, Anger from the simple fact of allowing myself to be hurt in that manner. Anger with myself for hurting someone in that manner, and angry with myself for being powerless to stop either. And there was a lot of anger there. There was disgust. I was disgusted with myself because I had I had done something that I never saw my father do. I never saw my uncle. I never saw my uncles do. I never saw any male that was any male that I looked up to do. I never saw this. I never saw this. This never happened in front of me as a kid. This never happened in front of me as a child. And it didn't happen to me. I never saw this as a young adult until I was actually the one perpetrated it, that perpetrated it on someone, but then had it perpetrated on me. I felt that God was punishing me for what I did to somebody, and I felt that that me being hurt or me being abused by that woman was the proper penance, was the proper payment for me hurting somebody, for me hurting someone. And for a long time, that's what I thought it was. This was God's way of punishing me for what I did to someone else. This was God's way of saying, "Hey, you did this to somebody, so now I have to make sure that this that you pay the price for that, or that this comes back to you full circle." And I thought I thought it was a full circle moment. I also was dealing with a severe and heavy bout of depression. I It was really, really hard for me sometime. It was really, really hard for me at times especially during this particular time in my life. It was really, really hard for me to wake up and be motivated to do anything. Um, I limited what I did to going to work and coming back home. I worked overnight, so my interaction my in- at I worked overnight, so was was my interaction with people was only limited to the people on my team. And I really didn't talk to anybody while I was riding public transportation to my job, to and from my job. And even when I was, living with a good friend, I even limited my interaction with them because I didn't want to put myself in that situation again. I didn't want to get caught up in that situation. I didn't want to um allow myself to be hurt like that again, but also I didn't want to put myself in a position to where I could hurt someone. Now, mind you, mind you, the me being the abuser part was literally a one time thing, literally a one time thing. But one but some but in most ca- but in but a one time thing could a one time thing leads to a lifetime of pain and banishment and sick and stigma. And I'll talk about that um here in a little bit. I limited my interactions with people to, hey, hi, how you doing? Bye, things of that nature. Now, mind you, I'm a guy from the South, and we pride ourselves on being we pride ourselves on being personable, also being approachable, but also being mannerable and friendly. But this particular instant, this both of these instances and incidents eroded that part of me. Actually, I had actually it forced me to bury it for a time. My interactions with women were I limited my interactions with women to only that of physical of some of a physical nature. I think I think everybody knows I think everybody knows what I mean when I say that. I didn't hold any I didn't hold conversations. I didn't try to hold any conversations with women. I I didn't want to, get into any type of intimate relationships with women or anything of that nature because I was afraid of being taken advantage of again, like in that nature. And I also was afraid of myself, still dealing with the was at that time dealing with the anger issues, the anger and the rage issues, and trying to find some way to trying to find some way to exist in that, in these extremes. These Now these extremes were self-imposed, but also self-imposed out of a necessity to protect myself, out of a necessity to um keep myself from being exposed to those types of things again. And I'm thinking that what I'm doing is helping me and helping me, you know, get over the hump or get over what I was going through. It wasn't helping at all, which it didn't help at all, which led to my very first attempt at um trying to remove myself from this plane of existence. Now it led to my first attempt at that. It led to my first attempt. Failed attempt, not mind you, but an attempt. And in that, I was still wrestling with what I was feeling, still trying to, not fight what I was feeling, but trying to make sense of what I was feeling. Now mind you at the time I'm a 25, 26-year-old young man, and I'm wrestling and fighting with these things, and I'm trying to find trying to find some semblance of solace or some semblance of peace in what in these feelings or in this experience. And at the time I was also fighting. I was also wrestling with myself spiritually. You know, thinking that maybe I could find solace in in a church in church, in a in a spiritual community. Something that a friend of mine had something that the friend I stayed with had recommended for a while. And I kind of balked at it, but then I said, you know what the hell? Let me give this whirly bird a twirl. At the end of the day, I didn't have anything to lose. I didn't have anything. I didn't have anything else to lose, and I had everything. And I had everything to gain. That was my thought process going into that. Going into it, you know, walk through that process. Got saved, got baptized at that point. Got baptized at that point in those instances as well. And but for some strange reason, I didn't feel like I didn't feel like I was I didn't feel like I was healing the way I should have, the way I thought I should have, or that I wasn't growing. I wasn't growing the way that I should, the way that I should have, the way that I had imagined or had wanted to. You know, I never told anyone at the time of what I was going through, or what I had experienced, because I figured it was irrelevant to my spiritual growth. And I just didn't say anything. I didn't really mention anything. I didn't even talk about it to anybody, just I left it alone. Didn't say anything. So that for years that sort of festered, and the anger, the resentment, the the frustration, the irritation, for years that sat, and for years that grew, and I thought that I thought that I was doing the right things to put myself on a path, on the path of, being better and healing and things of that nature. But I was sadly mistaken, and I was wrong. And this is because I went about the wrong way of doing it. So one of the lessons that I learned throughout the process is that there's no right or wrong way. There's no right or wrong path to healing. I'm just calling it like it is. There's no right or wrong. There's no right or wrong path to healing. The path to healing is the path that we take, and that path looks different. Looks different for everyone. That path is different for everyone, and I thought that by taking the predetermined path, I was going to be able to get to where I needed to be, or get to where I wanted to be. The predetermined path works for some people. It doesn't work for everyone. I had to learn to take my own path. The other lesson that I learned, that I was slowly but surely starting to learn, was that I lost people. I lost people along the way. You're going to lose people along the way. There are people I had considered to be good friends. And when I slowly started opening up and telling the people that I trusted at the time about my experiences, everybody just really just backed away. They backed away. They put distance from me. They put distance to me. They didn't want to be associated with a person like me. They didn't want to be around a person like me. They didn't want to be known to even be in a friendship, to engage in a friendship with a person like me. And that threw me right back into my depression. It threw me right back into my depression. It threw me right back into being depressed. It threw me right back into despondency. And I think, and this is just a takeaway from my own personal experience. I think when people get get fall into despondency, or they fall that hard and that heavy into despondency, some of us get desperate. I fell into that. I was desperate to want to have friends. I was desperate to want to have some semblance of of a life at the time. And at that time, my life was purity. My life was purity hell. Going through that, I had no idea of which way was up, which way was up, which way was down, which way was left, or which way was right. Had no clue. No clue, no clue, no direction, no anything. No, I didn't know anything. I just because I fell back into deep depression. At that point, I was just here. I was just here. Didn't really want to interact with anybody. Didn't care to interact with anybody. Didn't again limiting my relationships to one time, limiting relationships to one time encounters, limiting my intimate relationships, limiting other relationships to just one time encounters. Not to mention while I was going through all this, I had received some mail from Newport News, giving me some information about what happened about some things that would have happened to my then 7-year-old son at the time. I'm not gonna get into any specifics with that, because that's strictly between me and his mother. But that entailed with the experiences that I went through, that helped spiral me down deeper into that bear pit of depression. And I'm gonna tell y'all something, man. It is far easier to dig a bear pit than to climb out of it. And I dug this bear pit. I dug it deep with my choices and with my actions. And I fell face first into that deep bear pit. Now I'm sitting here, looking up at this hole that I dug, and now I'm desperately trying to find a way to climb my way out of it. I clawed and scratched and dug in hard, and every time I felt like I was getting close to the top, I something happened and I fell right back down to the bottom again. This time feeling that I'm a lot deeper into that bear pit than I was when I initially started. And that time and that whole time had been very, very different. That whole instance of passage of time was difficult. It was it was very difficult to exist or to live in that state of mind, in that state of being on a daily basis, and wonder that is is this really the extent of what my life's is this really the extent of what my life is this really the extent of what my life's worth is is this the only existence that I'm going to be able to eke out at this point? Am I going to be this um depressive person that's walled himself off from the rest of people and from the rest of the world? And for a time I did wall myself off to people because I didn't want to be involved. I didn't want to be involved with people. I didn't want to be in in any type of relationship with people, be that male or female. And one of the harder lessons that I learned that I learned while going through this journey is that forgiving yourself is the hardest thing to do. Forgiving yourself is the most difficult thing to do, especially when you've harmed other people and you allow people to harm you, and then you harmed yourself. Forgiveness of self is the most difficult thing for us as human beings to do. If we can at times readily forgive other people for for their transgressions against us, or we have to ask people to forgive us for the transgressions that we um place upon them. But when it comes to forgiveness of self, when we're asking to try to forgive ourselves for the transgressions that we have placed upon ourselves, that's the most difficult thing to do, because there's so many questions that I ask myself. Why do I deserve forgiveness? um am I really worth forgiveness? Do I really even want to forgive myself? Do I want to just say the hell with this and throw it all away and just say I don't want this anymore? What do I do in that what I do in that situation? How am I to behave, or how am I to react to my to how am I to react to that? How am I to answer those questions? How was I to answer those questions? Again, I was a 25, 26-year-old young man, and I had no real concept of what forgiveness was. I had no real concept of what being able to give yourself a pass was. And the other thing I was wrestling with is how could I ever ask the person that I hurt to forgive me? Hell, would I even be able to ask the person that I hurt to forgive me? Would I be even able to would I be strong enough to ask the person that I hurt to forgive me? Would I be strong enough to demand the person that hurt me to demand forgiveness from the person that hurt me? Well, those two questions I'll answer right here. I'll answer right now. I never got the chance in either instance. I never got I never got the chance in either instance. I never got to I never got to ask the person that I hurt for forgiveness. And I was never able to demand to demand the person that I hurt to give me that, to add demand or demand that person to ask to forgive me. I never got that chance. I never got the opportunity or the chance to do either. Does that and I knew that I wasn't going to be able to have that chance to do that. And that is what that is what ate away at me for quite some time. I never got to ask the person that I hurt to forgive me. I never asked them for their forgiveness. I never demanded forgiveness for the person that hurt me. And I know demanding forgiveness sounds like a very harsh thing, but at now keep in mind at the time that I'm a young man, so I'm slowly but surely I'm trying to understand slowly. I was slowly but surely beginning trying to understand the concept of forgiveness and what it truly meant for me and for the people that I was asking forgiveness of and demanding forgiveness from. So, I mean, I never got the chance to do that because, honestly speaking, I never got the chance. I never got the chance, and those two things ate at me for a while, and I felt that I failed because I wasn't able to petition that person, the person that I hurt, and petition her for forgiveness to to be humble and ask her for forgiveness, ask her to forgive me for what I did, for what I had done to her. And I also felt that I had failed for not demanding forgiveness from the person that hurt me. I literally felt that I literally at the time felt that I failed, and then that that drove me even deeper into depression. I never told my mother and my father about those experiences until a while back. Never mentioned them to them. I figured it wasn't at the time. I felt that it wasn't their pride, it wasn't their issue, it wasn't their problem. It wasn't something that they should inundate themselves with. Felt that it was something that they didn't have any say so over that, because not say that they didn't have any say so, but I felt that there was something that they really didn't couldn't necessarily interfere with, or even have a say, or even or what they say would have any bearing on what I was feeling. At the time I was still living I was still at the time I was living in California. I was living in California at the time, and I was still wrestling through a lot of things, you know, and a very, very long time, for a very, 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 very long time, I never talked about it. For a long time, I didn't even talk about the incidents. I never said anything about them. I never mentioned them. Never even brought them to the forefront of anything. They weren't the subject of conversation. Nobody asked. I didn't bring it up. So I kept that in. Now, stigma is something that is very, very real. It's something that ended up being very, very prevalent in my life, because the times that I did say something to somebody, I did mention it to people. And it was I was immediately stigmatized. I was immediately ostracized. It's like, you're a weak excuse for a man. If you're a weak excuse for a man. You hit a woman, and you're also a weak excuse for a man because you allowed a woman to admit to take advantage of you and do these things. And for a long time, I lived in that stigma. I felt that I was not a good enough individual, not a good enough man, because I had allowed myself in a moment of anger to harm someone, but I also allowed someone to harm me. The thing about it is that I wallowed in that. I literally swam into the ocean of stigma, because I felt that this is my lot in life. This is what I'm going to be called, an abuser, and I'm going to be called an abuse someone who couldn't stand up to a woman or a female, and that I was going to be I was the and I felt that I was going to be the subject of someone's cruel trolling or ridicule. And at times I was, because I felt as if I wasn't strong enough to endure what I endured. One of the lessons that I was taught in this journey during this journey was patience. That this journey of mine is I had to learn patience. At some point I also had to learn self-control, self-governance. I had to learn that, and I'm gonna be honest. This is I'm still working on the issues, my anger issues, but those issues don't manifest in me harming and trying to harm a person that I care about. I had to learn other ways of controlling my temper. I had to learn other ways of trying to not be so reactionary and at times all the and I at times trying to go through all these things, these try attempting and experimenting with different ways of trying to deal with how to handle my anger. And some of these experiments hurt. They hurt a lot, not physically, but they hurt emotionally. They hurt mentally. Because every time I try something different and it didn't work, I felt that I strongly believe that I had failed. Every time I wanted to do something different, as far as to take control and to take charge of my life, I felt that I had always fell on my face, and here I am, right back in the same bear pit, right back in the same bear pit I had fought so hard to get out of. I had I found myself right back in the same bear pit that I had worked so hard to climb my ass out of, because I kept making these attempts to try to make headway with myself, and because I kept failing, I felt like I was a failure again. And once again, I fell right back into the same bear pit that I could have sworn I had buried. I had I had left behind. I had walked away from. I had literally just put in my rearview mirror, and here I am coming back full circle, walking and falling right back into the same bear pit. And now I gotta look up again and try to claw and scratch my way out of it again. And to be honest with you, for a time, for a time, and I'm saying for a time, I didn't crawl. I didn't try to climb my way. I didn't try to climb my way out of that bear pit. Excuse me. I was happy. I was okay being in that dark and closed and enclosed off enclosed area. I was happy not, you know, not having the energy to want to not having the energy to want to climb out of that, not having the wherewithal or the will to want to climb out of that. I was happy I was happy being there. I was happy just existing and not really wanting to climb out of the bear pit. And that is until a chance encounter with someone that I consider to be a very very good friend of mine. Um, Miss Lori. Um, I remember this like it was yesterday. I met her um, at the time I was living in Florida. I met her at the Hillsborough County Library, and I was part of a book event. And at this time um, I had written a broken circle, or I think it was a broken chance. I think I had severed my ties with the publisher that I was with, and I redid it to be a and wrote it and published it as an independent author. And I met Miss Lori, and we had a wonderful conversation. Um, she told me a little bit about her story, about how she was a survivor of domestic violence, and that her book spoke about that. Her book spoke to her journey, spoke to her struggles and her pitfalls of um, coming out of that. Miss, I think Miss Laurie's last name now is Brinson or something of that nature. But when I met her, her last name was Brinson. And like I said, when we talked a lot about, you know, we talked a lot about our journeys. This was in 2017. I think it was 2016 or 2017, if I'm not mistaken. And when we talked, she mentioned that, that my story is something that is of something that's quite rare. But also in the same instance, she invited me to come to her summit in Sarasota. For her first annual Victory Over Violence Summit in Sarasota, Florida. I remember that, that event. And it was because of that event. It was because of that event I found my breakthrough. I found um I found peace, and I found solace with it, with the situation, with the incidents. And I'm emotional about it because it took a lot for me to tell my story in front of a crowd that was predominantly women. I'm not saying that to be not saying that to be negative or anything like that. I'm saying that because there was a power in that. If I suddenly felt like this humongous weight was lifted off of me, and to be excuse me, to be embraced by those women, and also by the men, the two or three men that were there. And for one of those men to say that, do you I think that you're very brave for telling this story. I didn't feel vindication. I I felt release. I felt as if the weight of everything that I had on me was taken off of the weight of that weight of the weight of feeling like feel the of being stigmatized, of being ostracized, of being of feeling like I was comfortable in the bear pit. I felt like that was something was that was lifted off of me. Now every once in a while I do come across those feelings of being feeling ostracized and stigmatized, but it's far less often now than it's been than it's what and it was been than it had been before. But at that time, to be embraced by those people, and to know that the people in that room, some that I shared a common experience. I shared a common experience with the majority of those people in the room, and it was an experience an experience that I could use that I could talk about and that I could use to help other people who have been through or who are going through similar experiences. That felt huge. It felt it finally felt like what I went through had some form of meaning, or that it had some form of relevance. Was I ever able to ask the person that I hurt to forgive me? No. Again, like I said before, I never got the chance to. Was I able to demand forgiveness for the person that hurt me? No. I I never got the chance to. Never got the chance to. The more important thing for me is that I was able to finally forgive myself for the transgressions that I had made on myself. Like I said, this didn't feel like vindication. It felt like release. And it felt like that it would felt like there were so many things that I had held in because of those two experiences. Excuse me. There was a lot of hurt. There was a lot of pain in those experiences. And again, I'm very emotional about it because it's something that was that was very significant in my life. For once in my life, I felt that I could climb out of the bear pit without having to kick or fight and scratch to get out of it. But again, but I do want to warn people. I do want to let you guys that no victory comes without cost. And for me at the time, and not this is not to be the sound melancholy or sound down, but for a while, even though I felt this great weight come off of me, it felt like it felt like a Pyrrhic victory because in the fight for me to try to the fight against stigmatization and ostracized and being ostracized, I had I had ground myself down and the other side down to a screeching halt. And I felt like, and at that, and again, prior to me meeting Miss Lori and becoming more involved, me becoming more of an advocate and becoming more involved, I had I had squandered all my emotional and mental resources at the time. So even though at that event I found a great victory, that victory didn't come without great cost. But what but I guess the bigger question was I prepared to pay that cost for the victory? At the time, no. But because I didn't know what the cost of it was. And later on in my life, I ended up knowing, ended up finding out what the cost was. And I paid that cost. I told myself that I would that I told myself that I wouldn't be I told myself that I wouldn't be emotionally abused again by any person, by a male or female. But yet here I was in Yet here I was at the time in a relationship that was emotionally abusive to me, and was less of a that was in a relationship that wasn't healthy for me. So at the time, I'm telling folks to, to not be in these relationships, but at the same time, I'm being hypocritical, and I am in one, and I was in one, you know, and then I had to take a look at myself in the mirror, and took me a minute to try to figure out who I was and where I was at. It took a moment, and even in that, another lesson was learned. You never say that you'll never go through something again. And I'm not saying that to be a Debbie Downer or anything like that, because some people will say, I'll never go through that again." It would be wise not to say that, because because the same instance you say that you wouldn't be a repeat participant in, you would end up being a repeat participant in. And I'm not then that's not God's way of being funny. And I had to realize that me going through that event with the me being abused event was not God's way of punishing me. God didn't want to punish me for that. He, he wanted me to learn a lesson. In the hopes of me not putting myself in grave danger again. He wanted me to learn that lesson a bit sooner, but a bit sooner. However, I ended up learning the lesson later. And sometimes learning the lesson later can be of a great benefit. It's not it's not by happenstance that I experienced both of those things. It's not by happenstance. I know that I know that both instances were the direct result of my choices. And choices do have consequences. But also in the same time, there were important lessons to be learned in that. There was an important point in my life to where I finally got to a point of release, and then I got to a point of being able to heal from those instances, from those two events. And that healing doesn't come didn't come without effort, nor did it come without didn't come without trials and tribulations, and many failures along the way. So many times I tripped over my own feet. So many times I fell on my face. So many times I was running to the bus stop only to have the bus leave me as I get to the bus stop. It's this it didn't come without that process. I'm grateful for the I'm grateful for the healing process. Even even now as I talk about it, it there's another aspect of me that's being healed, because again, I was embarrassed to talk about it for a time, and I didn't really talk about it until, again, like 2016, 2017. And that's when I was encouraged to be an advocate. That's when I was encouraged to be an advocate. That's when Miss Lori and Miss Valerie both had encouraged me to be an advocate. That's when, Miss Angela Thomas Smith encouraged me to be more of an advocate, more of a voice, more of an advocate for men, as well as women. I I was encouraged to be more of that. And for a while and for a very long time and for a very long time since that time I've been an advocate for domestic violence, not for domestic violence, not for men, not only for men but for both men and women. And I've been so blessed to be able to be exposed to so many wonderful people. Um, three people that I just mentioned. Um, Miss and my sis, my and all three of these are my sisters, Miss Angela, Miss Valerie, and Miss Lori. Also, Miss April Jackson Hunter. I've been I have been so I've been blessed and fortunate to be around these people, around these people, and even more people, and even yesterday, even yesterday, I was able to be exposed to two more people, um, Miss Andrea Ward and Miss Miss Shanika, and talking with them, their stories are amazing stories of hope and resilience, but also strength and determination, and also to be a blessing to it was a blessing to be on, be one of the board members of Miss Lori's foundation, the Victory Over Violence Foundation, to be one of her board members, and then also to be able to participate in another one of her summits, and to be a vendor, but also be a moderator, and to be a moderator in in a discussion that, and it feels good to be it feels good. I don't know. I can't think of any other words I could really conjure at this point. It feels good to be able to talk about what I've been through, what I've experienced on a micro and also a macro level. To talk about that, to tell men and women that there's hope outside of there's hope outside of your situation. There's hope outside of your situation. There's hope outside of your situation. To be able to tell men and women that, you know, you are more than just somebody's verbal and emotional punching bag. You're more than just someone's physical punching bag. You're worth more than that. The last lesson that I learned, all these lessons are continuous lessons and are continuous lessons for me. But one of the last lessons I learned, and I'm gonna get up out of here, you is that I'm where I'm worthy, and I'm worthy, and I'm worth it. For a long time, I felt like I didn't have any worth, because I didn't that my worth was zero, because I had abused somebody, and then I had let someone abuse me. So I thought at that point I had no worth. But at the end of the day, I when all is said and done, and when everything just stops and just becomes what it is, I found out. I'm sorry. I find out that I'm worth it. I'm worth it. I find out that my struggles my struggles with depression, with um wanting to remove myself from this plane of existence, with I was being ostracized and stigmatized. It it was worth it, and I'm worth it. It was a hard. It's a hard. It was a hard and painful journey, but I am worth it, and I want one of the things I want people to take away from this um as I close out tonight is that no person, no person, no person should ever be hurt or abused. No person. That's male, whether it's male, female, or whatnot. One of the things my sister April Jackson Hunter says, domestic violence has no domestic violence cares not of your sexual orientation. It cares not whether you're male or female. It doesn't. And I want to tell this to whomever, to anybody that's listening or watching who is either going through a situation such as what I've been through, whether it's on the abuse, whether it's on the victim side or the perpetrator side. It doesn't matter. The cycle has to end somehow. If you're the abused, get out of this situation and find and seek safety. If you're the abuser, turn yourself into law enforcement and seek help. Matter of fact, both abuse and abuser should seek help. This journey, this I'm gonna say that I won't say that I can say this for me because again I wasn't strong enough to recognize the magnitude of the I wasn't strong enough at the time to recognize the magnitude of the journey that I took. But now, but now when I came to that journey's end, well, not I'm not even at my journey's end because now I feel like after 2016 or 2017, I feel like my journey with domestic violence as being an advocate has is in its infancy, still in its infancy. And I know that as an advocate, I have to do more. But age old cliche, love should not hurt. Love should not physically hurt. Love should not emotionally hurt. Love should not mentally hurt. I implore those who are going through to find a way of escape. I encourage those who are the perpetrators to do the right thing and seek help. That's that's all I had. That's all I got for tonight. I want to thank everyone who has tuned in and watched this particular show tonight. I'm so very grateful. Um Talking about this was a heavy thing, and I'm glad I was able to share this with our listening and our viewing audience. I'm very glad and I'm very grateful to share that with you guys. Um, it doesn't go over my head, nor does it nor does it elude me that you guys are always watching and listening and and understanding. And I thank you guys very much for your understanding and your empathy. It means a lot to me. It means a lot to me that you guys show and you guys show empathy for me. I'm very appreciative of that. I'm very, very appreciative of that. I thank you guys so very much for being here tonight. I thank you guys very much for your time and your attention. Again, it means the world to me that you guys are are like this with me. I appreciate that so much. And for those who miss seeing me live on the air, I pr- I I promise you guys will see more of me on the air. I have there's some experiences there's some experiences that I've had during my crazy time away, and my crazy time away for a while, and I cannot wait to share them with you guys. I cannot wait to share them with you guys. Um some of these experiences are life lessons, and others are just that one to grow on moment. And I cannot wait to share those experiences with you guys. I just cannot wait to share those stories and those experiences with you guys. It's it's been an honor. I'm honored, and I'm grateful, and I'm appreciative of the support. Um Again, before I go, 4 years ago, I started this journey. 4 years ago, I started this journey. And me and three other people started this journey. This journey into becoming a a renowned, known, um, respected, and honored podcast platform. The well known part, the well known part, we're still working on. But I do believe the renowned and the respected part of that been has been duly earned. There are some wonderful people. There's some wonderful people whom I've met along this journey that have been amazing to me. That have been amazing to me, and also been amazing to my team. There, as we've gained as we've gained as we gain people, we've also lost people along the way. Most notably, um, a good brother to me, Mr. Terrence Jackson, and also a great friend to um, Quentin Coco, and also a frequent visitor to our platform, Chandra Frazier. And in the 4 years that I've been doing this, the 4 years that I've been doing this, um, in the 4 years that I've been doing this as an independent, as my own platform, but also in the 8 total years that I've been doing this all together. I I wouldn't change this for I wouldn't change any of I wouldn't change any of the last 4 years for the world. The last 4 years have been wonderful. They've been great. They've had their shares of ups and they've had their shares of downs. They've had their share of happiness and sadness and joy and pain and also disruption and reconstruction and every other thing that you could think about. But I wouldn't change any of it. I wouldn't change any of it at all because I'm grateful for the 4 years for the I'm grateful for 4 years. I'm grateful for 4 years of I'm grateful for 4 years of wonderful and amazing and outstanding guests. Grateful for 4 years of mind-blowing and game-changing as well as controversial topics. I'm grateful for 4 years of of dynamic of super talented, dope and dynamic host. And I'm grateful for 4 years of just just wonderful conversations and just wonderful camaraderie. Every time I come in front of this camera and I come in front of this microphone, it is always I consider it a blessing to be able to do this. I consider it a blessing to have a platform to where I'm able to give opportunities to those who have a message and who have a voice to to allow this platform to be the conduit for that voice and to help amplify that voice as loud as loud as we can amplify it. I'm grateful for Miss Bobby. I'm grateful for Quint. I'm grateful for Coco. I'm grateful for LHG. I'm grateful for Tony. I'm grateful for Kai. I'm grateful for the relationships that I've able to cultivate over the years with so many people. I know I put this out in the Facebook post, but I want to reiterate this again to those who watch us, to those who listen to us, and to those who have been the guest here. To our guest, I thank you from the bottom of my heart for allowing us to share your story in its purest and uncut form. I thank you for allowing us to be the vessel to where you to be the vessel to share your transparency. I thank you for allowing us to be the to be the bullhorn, to tell your story out loud to the world. I thank you for your brotherhood and your sisterhood. I thank you for taking the time out of a busy day to come into this studio and talk to us about you. Talk about your platform, your business, your writing, your music. None of that is lost on me, and I thank you for that. To my host, to LSG, to Kai, to Tony, to Coco, and other hosts, to my host past and present. I'm very appreciative for you taking a chance on someone like me to be to be the amplifier for this platform, to be the amplifier to your voice. I'm appreciative for you. I'm appreciative for that because you guys have helped me grow. You guys have helped me grow. I'm learning to be a better leader, but I'm also learning to be a better man. And again, I thank you for your brotherhood. I thank you for your sisterhood. I thank you for, again, allowing me to be the amplifier for your voice. To be that thank you for allowing me to be that soapbox to which you stand on, and that you tell your story, and that you tell your story from on tell your story loud so that everybody can hear it. I thank you. To our listeners and to our viewers, without you, without you, without you guys, we most certainly do not exist. We thank you from the bottom of our we thank you for taking the time out of your day, your busy day or your busy evening, to watch us on YouTube, to watch us on Facebook, to listen to our audio podcast on wherever you get your podcast from. I thank you guys for watching us on Twitch. I'm very grateful for your listenership and your viewership. It's not lost on me. It is not lost on me. You are the reason you're this is one you guys are one of the reasons that we continue to move, and that we continue to grow, and we continue to try. We do our best to put out wonderful content, great content for you guys. I'm grateful to my host. I'm grateful to our listeners. I'm grateful to our guest, because without any of those three, this platform would not exist. And I'm grateful for 4 years, and I'm grateful for the years to come afterwards. Um, 2024 is soon to wrap up, and I'm looking forward to what 2025 has in store for us. So with that being said, I am gonna get out of here, man. Thank you guys for taking the time to listen to me, to listen to me talk a little bit. Um, I'm appreciative of that. So I'm gonna take you guys home with a song by Mookstar Dash by the name of Therapy. You guys, I love you guys to life. I love you guys to live. I love you guys to life. I love you guys to live. And I just want you guys to be blessed tonight. To be blessed tonight. I want you guys to be blessed. I want you guys to live life to the fullest. Love on each other, take care of each other. And we all know that it's a crazy world out here. So please just do me this favor and just be safe out there. One last thing that I want to say, um, and this is, I think, and I do feel that this is important. The election day is coming up very soon. If you have the opportunity to go out and vote, to vote early, please do so. I'm not saying this because I'm not saying this because I follow I'm not saying this because the simple fact that I have a political affiliation. I have no political affiliation. I'm not a Democrat, nor am I Republican, or anything else of that nature, anything else of that ilk. But I am a person who raises right hand in defense of this country, and I understand what the right to vote means. It means that we have a say so, and it's our chance to say this, our chance to say who we want to be, who we want to lead us. Now I understand that the presidential thing is important, but let's not forget but please do not discount the importance of voting locally. Because even though we're voting for someone to lead us nationally, it's the people that we vote for locally that will enact national policies, but will also enact policies in each local county, in each local city, county, and state government. So whatever your political affiliation is, I don't care what your political affiliation is. My thing is just to go out and vote. People that fought for, people that fought for and bled for that right to do that. And if you think that your vote doesn't count, think again. Like I said, you guys be safe out there. You guys love on each other, and you guys be good to each other. And again, it's a crazy world out here. So once again, y'all be safe out there. See you guys in the next one. Mook Star. I'm gonna leave you guys with Mook Star Dash and Therapy. Peace.
Look at me now, I made it through. I overcame what they hated. I'ma give myself congratulations because I made it. I'm on a whole new dimension. These miracles on top of blessings. Tell your father what's to mention. To mention. Therapy. Let me breathe. I'ma count 1, 2, 3. I'm not gonna lose all sleep. I'm on a whole new vibration. Not losing my patience because I got my peace. Can't nobody take from me. Therapy. Another switched up on you. The pain you thought you'd never get through. People change, seasons change. The levels raining all on you. It gets better from here. It gets better from here. Favor looking good on me. No pressure, it's time to seek. Therapy. Oh, it's okay to have therapy. Therapy.